Okay, good afternoon and welcome to the AS and A-level music technology support session. There might be a few bleeps here and there at the beginning as people join the session. First thing to do is just to make sure that everyone can hear me. So in your icon bar, you should have a raise hand icon. So if you can hear me, if you can click on that now, just give everyone a minute or so to do that. Just say that if you are having problems at any point with audio during the session, first thing to try is logging out and then back into the session. That will usually fix most of the issues that people have with the sound. Okay, most people have done that, so I'm just going to lower all the hands again now. This session is being recorded, so I will make a recording and the slides available on the Pearson Music community page in a few days' time as well. There's a link to the community page at the end of the slides here. The presentation can be downloaded from the materials section of this as well, so you can access those now if you want to. As we go through the session, there will be time for questions as well, so hopefully I can answer all those for you. So just you can pop them in the chat box and I can answer those as well. Okay, just someone having an issue with sound. Hopefully that will help them sort out that. So thank you for the time to attend this session, and hopefully you'll find this useful moving forward for this academic year. Obviously, results day was a few weeks back, and with a little bit of discussion and change of decision, students got the central assessment grades that they were awarded for GCSEs and A-levels. You may have some students thinking about the autumn series, so just to give you a bit of detail on that as we go through. Sorry, just there's someone else having some problems with the sound. Just checking how they're in the session as well. Just bear with me 1 minute while I try and sort this for them. Okay, so the autumn series, the window for the exams is between the 5th of October and the 23rd of October. And the entry deadline is actually only a couple of days away on the 4th of September. So got to move quite quickly there if any students are looking to sit the autumn series. The autumn series will be based on just the exam components. So for A-level music technology and AS level, that will be components 3 and 4. So there won't be any A components included in the results and in that series. Are 8 entries available? So yeah, you can make entries after the deadline, but there is a higher fee for that as well. Okay, someone still having some problems with the sound. Just bear with me 1 minute. Okay, so just moving on, there's the exam dates for the A-level music technology components as well, so it's 7th and the 13th of October. So to move into looking at the year ahead and the assessments for AS and A-level music technology. First of all, looking at AS level, in component 1, recording, the Ofqual consultation and the outcomes from that. Obviously, the big thing there was that there was removal of capture, so no recording would be included in that component. The duration was changed as well, down to at least 1 minute 30 seconds in duration. So the approach that's being taken is that it's still to be confirmed with Ofqual totally. So we're still waiting for some answers and clarification from Ofqual on this in terms of the approach that we've taken. But the intention is that we will be providing the stems for one piece of music, and that will include multiple stems for some of the parts. So therefore, the length of the piece will be set by the stems provided. And then some of the stems may include some technical or playing errors that would need to be corrected. And then obviously with that, because the capture is removed, only the stems provided are to be used in that. We intend to continue for this to be externally assessed. And because of the removal of capture, that will remove 12 marks from the component. The intention is to not change any of the assessment grids, but obviously grid 1 will be removed with that. And there will be new logbooks provided to reflect the changes in the requirement there as well. I'll just pause for a second, just in case there's any questions to come in around component 1 for AS level. Okay, just give people a minute to type if they're putting any questions in. Okay. So someone is asking about changes to new starters. So there's people finishing in 2022. With students completing in 2022, at the moment, there's no real talk and consideration in anything that Ofqual have sort of looked at and taken into account. So at this point, it is assuming that 2022 assessments will continue as normal. But obviously that may change at any point throughout this year, and who knows what may happen and where things may go at that point. So I think that decision may have to be delayed if there is any change to that, and may come later in the year. Obviously, new starter, you may have new starters that will sit the AS level, and obviously the AS level will apply to them in summer 2021. And someone else is asking, when is it released? So the intention is to release the new briefs for component 1 for AS and for A level on the 15th of September. So hopefully we'll be able to release it then online. Looking at component 2, technology-based composition for AS level. Again, this one hasn't had much change. The main thing is the duration. So that has changed to 1 minute 30 seconds in duration. You'll still get the 2 samples provided, and the samples must be used in their entirety and recognizable in the composition. Again, that will continue to be externally assessed and marked out of 60. There is, again, no change to the assessment grids there. The one thing around that is the consideration for using live capture. Again, if it's possible for you to do live capture, or for candidates to do live capture in your center for this component, then that's absolutely fine. But as with previous years anyway, there's no requirement to do live capture for the technology-based composition, and the assessment grids would reflect that.
Someone is at the front door.
Okay. And then for AS level, there's no change to the exam components. Through the off-qual consultations, there is clear that exams generally shouldn't be changing, and that has been coming across in all of their consultations that have been there as well. Okay, and as I said, we are still waiting for some of these things to be confirmed with Ofqual around our approach to the new requirements for summer 2021, and we will confirm those as soon as we can with you once we get confirmation from Ofqual. Okay, for A level, most of this is very similar to AS, as most of the differences were based around time between AS and A level. So for component 1 recording, again, capture has been removed from the assessment. That's certainly not to say that it can't be taught if you are able to in the centre, but it's certainly not part of the assessment now. So with the recording component for A level, it will be at least 2 minutes in duration, and again we will be providing the stems for one piece of music. That will include again multiple stems for some of the parts, and they'll include some technical or playing errors that would need to be corrected. So the length of the piece again is set by the stems that we provide there. Again, because of the removal of capture, only the stems provided are to be used in the project, so no parts are to be added anything extra recorded or no samples to be added within that as well. And therefore it will be marked out of 48 again. Again, not the intention to change the assessment grids in there, apart from the removal of grid 1. And again, there'll be new logbooks to reflect the changes in the requirement there. Someone's asked around the removal of capture, will the weighting still be 60-40? So the weighting of the specification overall won't change, and the intention with all of the things that we've put in place was to change as little as possible. So the weighting of the qualification will stay the same. It will mean that we would have to scale the recording component to make sure that we are then achieving the correct weighting for the specification with that. For component 2, obviously this has been released already online, so hopefully most of you have seen this by now as well. Change, again, the major change is the duration of the composition. It is now 2 minutes in duration. There's still the choice of the 3 briefs. The video brief that's been provided is now 2 minutes in duration, to be comparable length to the other briefs and the requirements there as well. So we've had to make that change there. Again, continues to be externally assessed and marked out as 60, so no real change to the assessment grids there. And again, the same sorts of things around live capture. So again, if you are able to, in your centres, to allow live capture as part of this assessment, then you can do that. But candidates can also approach it by using synthesis and sampling as ways to approach that, the briefs for this as well, and they won't be disadvantaged if they don't do live capture. Okay. Again, the exam components, the intention is for those to stay the same and remain the same for this. Again, just waiting for some of the confirmation from Ofqual around the approach to see that they've confirmed all of our changes that are in place. Just a question coming in there. Are you able to use a sample of existing music for brief 3, i.e. Flight of the Bumblebee, etc.? Depends how that's incorporated into the composition and what's being used. Usually it's one-hit short samples that are used to create the music rather than any sections of music. So I think that might need to come in as a question that we and describe how that might be used in the brief there and in the composition. So we can confirm the exact approach and how that could work. Okay. So at this point, really, this is time for questions. I know that we've actually got through this material a lot quicker, and the original session was for an hour. When I set this up, I didn't actually know exactly how many changes and how much detail I'd have to go through in terms of this. So put it down for an hour. Thankfully, I think we don't have to make huge changes to the specification and a lot of changes to the task. Obviously, the main changes are happening to component one in terms of the approach to that component and what happens with that task. But if you do have any questions now, please type them into the chat box and I'll be happy to go through those for you. Okay, in component one, will there be choices of stems, or are we all going to produce the same song? So it will be the same piece of music, so the same song for component one. So for AS, it's one song, and for A level, there will be another song where the stems are provided. So every candidate would be doing the same piece. Any additional MIDI allowed in component one? So no, although when the brief is released, it will be made clearer what the requirements are. Obviously, can't go into all of the detail around that at this point, as we're still awaiting some of the things around that. But yes, so it would just be the stems provided by us that are allowed to be used in that component. Can it be Stevie Wonder for A level? I can't say what it's going to be at this point, I'm afraid. Is deadline for submitting coursework for external marking still 15th of May? So at this point, I think the intention is to keep the 15th of May deadline. That may well be reviewed, but I think that's something that will be looked at as a whole across all GCSEs and A levels, whether that date changes or not. And we will update centres as soon as possible if there is any change with that as well. So will the autumn series exam papers be available for use as mock papers? Yes, so the papers will become available online. I haven't been given the dates of when that will be as yet, but usually the exam papers go online a little while after the window for that series closes. Yes, I think they will be available for you to use as mock papers this year, and I'd say probably in the new year they would, at some point early in the new year, they would be available then. Okay, someone just asking about, has this been filmed? Yes, so the session's been recorded and the slides will be available as well, so that's fine. They'll be available on the Pearson Music community pages, and on this slide here there are the details for that. So there's the Twitter, there's a link to the Pearson customer portal where you can submit questions by email, or they can come in as live chats as well. There's a link to my e-updates that are sent out, an online form to sign up for those. And then finally, there's a link to the Pearson Music community pages where the recording of this session and the slides will be posted up in a few days as well. So Yes, so someone asking about stems being recorded to a click. So yes, they will be recorded to, they will be click tracked. So I believe there will be a BPM given for the tracks that gets applied. Okay, right. If there are no more questions coming in, I will just say thank you very much for your time. I hope you found it useful, and I wish everyone all the best for this coming year as well.